Well, Adam won't through Jake like a runaway train. Henry King of short couldn't bring him no gain. Those running backs scored and the scoreboard showed 2-0 Adams on the championship road. Sean lit a fire, man, his whole team burned. Poor John just watched while his players adjourned. Even his bench was scoring like pros. Sean's got that Midas touch, everything turns to gold. It's a week to wrap up the highs and the lows. Some are true, some are wearing that all too close. The trades to be made and lessons to learn, but the season's just started, so it ain't your turn to burn. It's a week to wrap up the highs and the lows. Some are true, some are wearing that all too close. There's trades to be made and lessons to learn, but the season's just started, so it ain't your turn to burn. Disney Will in a low-scoring fight. It wasn't too pretty, but it still felt right. Burrow went down, left Will in despair. Might be time for a trade, man, you better beware. J.X. Josh by a hair so fine. .06 left Josh crying in line. Josh scored big, but he still got beat. At least he's got NASCAR for a Sunday seat. Ian came back strong, oh, he made it rain. St. Brown and Nate Burrs brought Clint the paint. 50-point margin, he proved his case. Now Ian's a problem in this fantasy race. Ben beat Jeremy with CMC and Hill, and his kicker put up points that gave him a thrill. Jeremy's the preseason champ no more, and CO2 he's knocking on the trade block door. It's the week to wrap up the highs and the lows. Some are too or some are wearing that all too close. Fire those coaches, shuffle your pack. Week 3 is coming, no time to slack. So cheers to the winners, the losers hang tight. There's a long road ahead, it ain't over tonight. Good luck to y'all, yeah, it's plain to see. To everyone but Sean, bring on week 3. Bring on week 3.
So yes, indeed, bring on week 3. Welcome everyone again as we wrap up here week 2 and take a look how everyone did, how I did with my predictions, where everybody is ranked, and then of course jumping into our predictions here for the next week as we enter into week 3. But before we get too far ahead and start talking about week 3, let's recap week 2 a little bit. So if we're tracking to my predictions, which of course you are, that's why you watch these videos and you pay attention to how I think every week is going to go, and then of course how it actually turns out. Well, unfortunately, we had a bad week. 2-4 last week. The ones I got right, you know, the powerhouses of this league, myself and Sean, we both pulled out the win like we were expected to. But the rest of you, very disappointed. I'm looking at you, Jake, Will, Josh, Clint. Y'all took the L. You're all predicted to win last week, but you didn't. So we'll do better this week. Not only I will, hopefully the 4 that took the loss that we're supposed to win last week will also do better. So, but let's take a look at the league rankings. We'll scroll down here and look at our standings. You saw from that song and that image that was on there as we were listening to the intro song, showing us who our number 1 team is, and that's Jay. Starting out the season just on fire. I mean, points for 260 points, undefeated. So to round out the top, though, you know, we have 3 undefeated teams. Jay, Sean, and Adam all have had, you know, 2 really good weeks so far. Scrolling down to the bottom, just because we love to talk, you know, those that are doing really well, and of course those that are struggling at 10, 11, and 12 here are our 3 teams who are still yet to look for that first win, with Josh, Jeremy, and Will. And kind of funny, right? We look at poor Josh there sitting at the 10th spot, 0-2 record, but points for 259 points, which is, yeah, way better than what everybody but Jay on there. Everybody's 0-2, but you know what? That's how the matchups work sometimes, right? So, but yeah, and then everybody else, of course, is in the middle, 1-1. Up and down season for some of us. I know Ian kind of that way, who, you know, struggled week 1 and then won week 2. I did the same thing. Clint was kind of the opposite. Very strong week 1 and then struggled last week. We're all kind of all over the board. But you know what? To be 2-0, to be really even 1-1. You feel good. Yeah, you might be in ninth place, Des, but you're 1-1. It could be worse. You could be Jeremy. You could be 0-2. You could be the preseason favorite and completely struggling and now spending the majority of your spare time trying to figure out some trades. All right, well, let's jump into week 3, shall we? And before we do some predictions, I kind of want to just, paint the picture a little bit of some storylines that we have going into this week. The first one, kind of the second line that you see on here, right, is Jeremy versus Adam. You've got Jeremy at 0-2 and Adam at 2-0. Adam has looked just incredibly strong all season long. Yeah, it's only been 2 weeks, but he's had 2 fantastic weeks. Jeremy, unfortunately, hasn't. And Jeremy, of course, right, was our preseason favorite, and now there's a chance where he could start the season at 0-3, which would mean he'd have a long road ahead of him to make the playoffs that I did. AI also picked him to make the playoffs. And then not only to make the playoffs, but then to win the darn championship as well. The next kind of storyline I picked here was Sean versus Will. Kind of the same story, really, right? Sean's 2-0, Will's 0-2. Will needs a win in the worst way, and you can already see based on what happened already and predictions, it's going to be a tough battle here for Will to win this week. And then the last one I've got on here, let me scroll to it. It's Josh, or just talking about Josh at 0-2. So, Josh has a ton of points on the season so far. He's 0-2. He's playing Ian this week. Ian, will this be Ian's big week? He's had a good week. He's had a bad week. What week will Ian have this week? And what will Josh be up against? Because Josh just loves to play against the teams that just, have the highest point scored for the week and gets to be the lucky one in the matchup to play that team. But of course, then Josh really needs a win. Same story, right, as Will and Jeremy. You don't want to start the season 0-2. All right, with that being said, then let's talk about the actual matchups. And again, we're not going to get into it. We're not going to go line by line, but we're just going to kind of talk high level and, of course, my predictions on here. So first one, we got Jeremy versus Adam. Jeremy's already had Kincaid, who has had a great start. Jeremy is really looking for his first win. Adam's been on, so far, cruise control, and just, his team's been playing well this week. But I do think Jeremy finally gets his first win. His rookies are finally gonna perform a little bit above even, the average or what's predicted, make him feel a little bit better about picking a team of so many young players on there. Of course, looking for those keepers for next year, but I think they performed this week. I think Jeremy gets the win. Sean versus Will. Like we said, Sean's already a heavy favorite. Will's got an uphill battle. I just can't do it. I can't pick Will this week. Sean's team is just too damn good. So Sean gets the win, and unfortunately, probably an easy win again for Sean this week. John versus Dez. Really a pick'em game. I think that's the predictions here say it's in John's favor. So that's the route I'm going to go. I think it will be close, but since John already had Cook play and had a decent game, we'll give the win here to John. Then we've got Clint versus our number 1 team. It was last week's number 1 team versus this week's number 1 team. And Jay, again, just looks like a powerhouse. But as of this week, based on projections, it looks like it will be pretty close. Clint's had a couple players play already. Josh Allen, Achan, unfortunately, both of them have kind of looked average for this week. Josh Allen maybe finally now back down to earth after scoring all those points in week 1. I do think this will be incredibly close. But if I've got to pick a winner, which I do, I'm going to give the edge to Clint this week to get back on a winning streak and to give Jay his first loss. And then next, we've got Ian versus John. We said before, right, what week is Ian bringing this week? Is this player going to step up like they did last week or look like he did in week 1? For Josh, I think Josh continues this week to score points. He's projected 130 points. I think he gets that at least, if not more. So I think it's Josh's week. Ian will have, he's going to have a roller coaster year. And I just think this week will be one of his down weeks for him. So I'm going to pick Josh in the win. Can't call it an upset just because he's 0-2. He's projected to have more points. And I think that'll hold true. So Josh gets win number 1 on the season here. And then the last one, myself versus Jake. brother versus brother. I'm pretty darn sure the majority of the time I always pick myself over Jake in these matchups. Maybe unless I'm trying to, do the whole reverse psychology thing or the kiss of death and try to pull out a win there. But it's too early in the season to resort to those type of tactics. So we're just going to say that my team already had a decent start. Hill scored like he should have. It's actually nice to see him not underperform when he had an early game and not already destroy your week. But I think because of that, the rest of the matchups that I have, I think it's going to be another close matchup here. But I do say that I'm going to pull up the win and move myself to 2-1. So there you have it. The winners, right? Who did we say? We got Jeremy, Sean, John, Clint, Josh, and myself all winning this week. So, all right, gentlemen, congrats again on a great week 2. Good luck here as we move into week 3. To everybody, of course, but Sean.
So it's the week to wrap up the highs and the lows. Some are too old, some are wearing that all too close. Fire those coaches, shuffle your pack. Week 3 is coming, no time to slack. So cheers to the winners, the losers hang tight. There's a long road ahead, it ain't over tonight. Good luck to y'all, yes, plain to see. To everyone but Sean, bring on week 3.